All right, tonight, 2 of the 4 dissenting IEBC commissioners are fighting back just hours before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly sits to probe their conduct in what could be the beginning of their end. Embattled Commissioners Juliana Cherera and Irene Masit have moved to court in a bid to stop Parliament from probing their conduct in the run-up to the announcement of the presidential election results. But what are their odds? We have details of that and much more ahead, including tonight, turmoil hits the Azimio la Umoja camp with legislators drawn largely from the Western region, claiming they are looked down upon.
No, there's nothing in Azimio at all. It's a storm in a teacup, okay? So don't believe it. Azimio is as strong as it ever was.
This as some Azimio leaders from the central Kenya region warm up to Kenya Kwanza. IEBC Commissioner Irene Masit formally opposes a scheduled probe by the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee into her and 3 other colleagues' conduct.
Is that people have begun planning for the next election. So we think someone is trying to take charge of IEBC in the next election, whereby he wants to have 100% control.
The government goes after assets worth millions owned by a former senior employee of the Kenya Ports Authority. All right, TV47 News Tonight begins right now. A very good evening to you and welcome aboard. My name is Kenneth Kazungu. Catherine Simaloi will be handling the sign language interpretation. Now, political cracks in Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party, are threatening to break up the pillars of the opposition formation few months after the August 9th general election. And as our reporter Micah Gongo now tells us, Odinga, that is the ODM leader, insists that all is well in Azimio since the last polls were not about him.
3 months after the August polls, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya vessel has started being rocked after waves from members of the coalition parties cropped up. A section of MPs from Western region has initiated plans to unite the Mulembe community, which has been experiencing political disunity for years.
The community elected leaders will from today speak in one voice irrespective of party affiliations. That the Azimio coalition has not accommodated the Luhya community in the House leadership of both the Senate and the National Assembly.
Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, who doubles up as ODM Party Secretary General, maintains that no one has been forced to remain in Azimio, adding that anyone or any party is free to leave the coalition. He, however, says members of each member party have a right to partake of fruits put on the Azimio table.
If you look at the leadership of Parliament in its entirety, from the National Assembly to the Senate, all the positions were given out in the Azimio coalition to people from other regions. It is as if we are being told that we are not leaders. Some of us have led even serious political parties for the first 5 years. Then a political party that has membership of almost 5 million people.
I've just read. Thank you.
Western MPs claim to be looked down upon in Azimio, leading to divisions.
The Luhya community was shortchanged in the East African Legislative Assembly elections by both the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio coalitions. Out of 9 positions, is only the Luhya community that doesn't have a single position in the Yala.
What is good for Honorable Aisha Jumwa and Mithika Linturi must be good for Honorable Waluke. I think Waluke's only crime is that he's a Luhya. Because we don't see any amnesty being extended to people from Western Kenya. So we are saying that if indeed it was okay for the charges against other people to be dropped, then it must be okay for the charges against Honorable Waluke to be dropped as well.
The selection of members of the Parliamentary Service Commission has also caused disgruntlement, with the legislators claiming to have been elbowed out of PSC's positions. They also claim that the jailing of Waluke was a politically instigated incarceration aimed at demeaning the Mulembe community. The lawmaker said that Raila betrayed the community by excluding its leaders from both the minority leadership in both the Senate and the National Assembly.
The Azimio coalition acted dishonestly in proposing names to the Parliamentary Service Commission by not including the name of Honorable John Waluke in the list, well aware that he had received a letter nominating him from the Jubilee Party.
Unable to swim.
Former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya is reportedly done supporting Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga's political ambitions. Oparanya stated that he has now decided to focus his political tactics and influence in solidifying the Western region that is split in every election cycle.
The Azimio coalition takes remedial action in House leadership position by being inclusive.
If you are telling me that Sifuna cannot be the leader of only 20 people in the Senate, what are you telling me? If I can be a leader of a party of 5 million people, how can I not be able to lead 20 people in the Senate?
However, Odinga insists that all is well in Azimio. He says if there are any issues, they can be settled amicably.
Nothing in Azimio at all. It's a storm in a teacup. Okay? So don't believe it. Azimio is as strong as it ever was. It was never about Raila Odinga. Azimio is a movement that has brought several political parties together. They share certain ideology and a common vision, what Azimio want to do, and you saw our manifesto. So it is not about Raila. It was not meant to reward Raila. But as you know, we have said that we never lost the election.
He is expected to meet Azimio One Kenya leaders anytime this week to try and iron out the issues raised by Western MPs in a bid to save the Azimio ship before it probably sinks. Mike, GOtv 47, Nairobi.
Right, from the storm facing Azimio to another storm, this time facing the IEBC, and besieged IEBC Vice Chair Juliana Cherera and Commissioner Irene Masit are fighting back, hoping to stop the National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee from hearing 4 petitions that want them and 2 of their colleagues removed from office. Masit's preliminary objection comes just hours before the committee commences hearing the petitions on Thursday, with the section of the committee members raising queries over the hearing process.
The hearing of the petition to remove the 4 IEBC commissioners is expected to kick off tomorrow. This is as Vice Chair Juliana Cherera and Commissioner Irene Masit fight back. Masit, in her letter to the Clerk of the National Assembly, says that the committee lacks jurisdiction to handle the matter.
Honourable members,
the commissioner further states the petitions are politically motivated, biased, hearsays, gossips and empty, thus lack support by exit nor document or evidence. Through her lawyer Donald Kipkoril, Masit wants all 4 petitions against her struck out on grounds that they do not demonstrate any gross misconduct, incompetence or serious violations of the Constitution on our part.
Clearly see that there's a bigger figure looming large behind it. And the reason is very simple, is that people have begun planning for the next election. So we think someone is trying to take charge of IEBC in the next election, whereby he wants to have 100% control. 100% control in this election and appointment.
The petitioners Geoffrey Langat, Steve Jerry, Dennis Ndumpi and the Republican Liberty Party want the 4 dissenting IEBC commissioners removed from office for gross misconduct and violation of the Constitution.
A criminal act never elapses in law. It doesn't matter how long it will be. But the long hand of justice will soon catch up with these people. Corruption, given another name called foreign trips, will not be accepted. And we also ask the Kenya Kwanza government, where these people are finding their head hiding under their bed, to come out and call this for what it is, that is corruption.
Article 251 of the Constitution states that the Parliament will consider the petition and, if certified, the Speaker will send it to President to form a tribunal to investigate the commissioners. In the event the tribunal is formed, the concerned commissioners will be suspended and paid half salary. Pending the conclusion of the inquiry, the President will have at least 30 days to act on the report after the tribunal makes its recommendation to him. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga is expected to address the media on the plight of the 4 descending commissioners just before the probe begins. IEBC commissioners are expected from tomorrow to lay their case before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, even as the process to kick off the 4 starts officially. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Pan Biddings, Nairobi.
Elizabeth, thank you. Moving on, leaders from the Western Kenyan part allied to the Azimio la Umoja coalition party have rubbished claims of moving to Kenya Kwanza. Now, this comes after the leaders joined other leaders from the Western region in a meeting with Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. The parliamentarians drawn from Vihiga, Kakamega, Busia, Bungoma and Trans Nzoia counties, led by caucus chair, who is also the Sirisia Member of Parliament, John Waluke, agreed to bury their political differences and ensure the Western region benefits from the government of the day through development projects. Now, this comes as a section of MPs allied to the Azimio la Umoja coalition are in the move to rally the region behind President William Ruto so as to benefit from the government.
Lakini sasa tumefika wakati wa kusema, let us put all that behind us. Let us see what we can do for people together, because your constituents are Kenyans and they are our people.
The key issue or agenda was unity of purpose, unity of the region, so that as we move forward, we should be able to be each other's keeper, we should be able to stand by each other, we should be able to push our development agenda as a region, as a team, irrespective of our political affiliation.
It's just like in Parliament. I'll give you an example of the National Assembly. Whenever you talk about CDF or anything that touches on the welfare of members, members unite irrespective of their political affiliation. And that is what we want to cultivate. So that if we know that in Kenya Kwanza, Luya community is going to get this, we unite so that we get. And also in Azimio, if we know this is what we are going to get, we also unite and get. Because on the Yala subject, we lost because we did not unite. So that's exactly what we are doing. We are not saying that we are now going to disband Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, no. Because people voted us in these parties. Unless people tell you to move from Azimio.
Moving on, and Cabinet Secretary for Trade, that is Moses Kuria, has been cautioned by senators against issuing an official gazette notice on the importation of maize in the country duty-free until all the maize is purchased by the NCPB. In a motion tabled by Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, the senators have poked holes on the move to import the 10 million bags of maize, even as farmers continue with their harvests. Stanley Nyaringita reports.
The debate on the decision by CS Trade, Moses Kuria, to import 10 million bags of GMO maize is still rife across the political divide, with senators poking holes on the reason behind the rush to import the maize, despite a bumper harvest from maize farmers, according to the Agriculture Ministry.
You ask yourself the big question. The harvesting is going on right now. In fact, we find a lot of lorries now ferrying maize from Uasin Gishu to other places. So you ask yourself, what really informed the decision to import maize now?
In a statement tabled by Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, Kuria has been cautioned against releasing the gazette notice of the importation of the maize until the National Cereals and Produce Board (NCPB) purchases all the maize from the farmers. According to the senators, the government should establish a strategic grain reserve in the country that will shield farmers and consumers from the maize shortage.
Commend that the Cabinet Secretary for Trade, Investment and Industry does not gazette the notice allowing duty-free maize importation from outside the country until the entire crop being harvested currently is purchased by National Cereals and Produce Board, local millers, and National Strategic Grain Reserve. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for that indulgence.
This even as the Council of Governors Agriculture Committee called for consultative meeting between them and the two ministries of Agriculture and Trade. In a press briefing Wednesday, Bungoma County boss told Kuria that the move to import maize will impoverish farmers.
We urge the national government through the National Cereals and Produce Board to make available resources to purchase all maize held by farmers before any importation is granted.
In the spirit of embracing devolution, the COG Agriculture Committee Chair Ken Lusaka has noted that governors should also be included in the talks of the GMO and the maize prices.
Tuwe na suluhu ya kuweza kutatua shida ambayo imekuwa. Kwamba tusije tunapata kwamba pengine serikali kuu inachukua decision fulani bila kuhusisha county governments ama county of governors, na tunajua kwamba masuala mengi haya yamegatuliwa.
Members of the clergy in Elgeyo Marakwet have also weighed in on the matter, saying the government needs to involve the public on the effects of the GMO before selling it to Kenyans.
Serikali kabisa watakapofanya tahadhari zilizo sawasawa kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya iko na uwezo. Wacha wamalize kwanza ile uwezo ambaye tuko nayo kabla hawajaenda kutafuta vitu ya shortcut ana vitu ya haraka ambaye pia inaweza kuwa ya kwamba inahatarisha usalama ya mioyo ya watu wetu, kwa sababu kama watu hawana amani, hata kila ambacho watakachopokea hata kama itakuwa nzuri tayari itaadhiri maisha yao.
Stanley Nyeringita, TV47, Nairobi.
Moving on, and in an effort to restore security in the country, the government has intensified the war on cattle rustling and proliferation of illegal firearms, with Interior CS Professor Kithure Kindiki touring volatile regions to spearhead the fight against banditry.
A day after his visit to Kitui County, where his meeting was interrupted by gunshots alleged to have been fired by bandits, Professor Kindiki is not fazed and has continued talks and meetings with leaders from Baringo County to deliberate on ways to end perennial cattle rustling.
Asante sana, haya ketini.
This was before holding another sit-down with members of the National Assembly Committee on National Administration and Security. In Isiolo County, Eastern Regional Commissioner Evans Achoki has warned administration leaders of dire consequences if they fail to report or take action against bandits who operate in the areas of their jurisdiction.
Ng'ombe ikibiwa, mbuzi ikibiwa, lazima nyayo ifuatwe. Na ile nyayo mahali inaishia ipeanwe kwa location nyingine, sub location nyingine. So lazima muwajibike. Hatutaki kuona officers kuzembea kazini. Sina huruma na watu kama hao.
Political leaders have also been advised to be wary of their utterances, which might fuel division and conflict, while the government has been called upon to ensure equity in distributing guns and police reserves to the affected regions.
Mkipata maneno muongee huko, lakini tukikuja hapa tukiongea na hard position, unajua mwananchi anachukua ni kama iko vita.
Tuna mapendeleo. Zikipeana Meru unasikia zimepeana 3, kama Tigani wa Safiri tulipewa 7 ama 10 sijui ni ngapi. Hapa unasikia zimepeana 100. Hayo mapendeleo ni kwa nini yanafanyika hivyo?
Sylvia Nyongesa, TV47.
Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has moved to the High Court in Mombasa to recover over 70 million shillings fraudulently acquired from the Kenya Ports Authority by Anthony Muhanji, a former senior employee of the Kenya Ports Authority. The Commission wants the High Court to declare the 78 million shillings as proceeds of crime and issue restitution orders and compelling Muhanji and his company to pay the amount to the Kenya government. Paul Kirobi reports.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC has established that a former employee of the Kenya Ports Authority was fraudulently awarded a tender which was applied for using forged documents. Anthony Muhanji, who worked as a project manager at the agency, was also a director of Mukitech Investment Limited and a beneficial owner of the company's bank account. The commission found out that Muhanji had engaged in a conflict of interest contrary to Section 42(1) of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act No. 3 of 2003, and that he was paid a sum of 78,161,858. After the completion of investigations, the Commission is now seeking orders from the court declaring that the 78,161,000 paid by the Kenya Ports Authority to Mukitech Investment Limited was fraudulent and illegally acquired, and therefore the monies are proceeds of crime liable to recovery by EACC. The Commission also wants that the recovered amount of 52,191,000 forfeited to the Government of Kenya before being released forthwith to Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. The Commission had gone to court pursuant to Section 53(3) of the Anti-Corruption and Economics Crime that mandates EACC to institute recovery proceedings against any person who does anything that constitutes corruption or economic crime. The Commission, through its Lawyer Coast Regional Office in Mombasa, had received an allegation of irregular and fraudulent procurement at the authority before swinging into action. Paul Kerobi, TV47.
The government of Kenya has been lauded for its peacekeeping efforts around the continent by the American government. In a meeting with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, General Michael Langley, a commander of the United States African Command, says it was commendable that Kenya, who is an anchor country in the region, was involved in the various ongoing peace processes around the continent. Now, this story was produced by Andrew Juma.
General, good morning. Deputy President. Most welcome. The whole world was watching the opening of free elections, was a shining example to the world of how democracy works. The world noticed that. But the cameras didn't fade away after that, because what has happened as I made my trips across the continent, as I've seen some of the things that are going on in the DRC, the challenges there.
And if the West means well for our country and our people, absolutely, we'll continuously engage, because we have the mandate from the Kenyan people to engage friends and people who are supportive of our programs, people who are supportive of our peace and security. And as such, we have no apologies for engaging the West continuously, and will continue doing so now and in the near future. So I really want to thank you for getting time to come and message us.
Thank you.
Moving on, and police officers in Busia County have arrested 2 people accused of sharing information believed to be part of the 2022 KCSE examination. Busia Deputy County Commissioner Kipchumba Ruto says the 2 were found with instructions for chemistry, physics and biology practical examinations for this year's exam. The 2 are being held at the Busia police station as investigations continue.
Walipatikana wakiwa wamebreach ile instructions manual ya subject ya physics, biology and chemistry practicals, na haikufuata utaratibu ambayo walipewa na National Examination Council. Wote walichukuliwa hatua, walishikwa na polisi, walirekodi statement na leo waliappear. They were arraigned before a court of law, Busia, to face charges for violating the confidentiality of instruction manual, ile zile kanuni za practicals. Na mkasa huu ama shida hii haijaadhiri zile mitihani zingine. So ni center manager na mwalimu wa kemia ambaye ni mwanafunzi wa chuo kikuu. Na center manager na huyo mwalimu ambaye ni mwanafunzi walifungua forum ama tunaita kwa lugha nyingine WhatsApp group, na jina la hilo forum ama WhatsApp group ni 8-20-20 na iko na members 130.
Elsewhere, Kenya has signed a deal with the South Korean business community on trade and investments. According to a communication by State House, the deal allows for the South Korean business community to invest in Kenya.
Among the deals secured are Kenyan shillings 120 billion to support local manufacturing in health, smart city and technical, vocational education and training TVETs. The South Korean government has also given Kenya a grant of Kenya shilling 1.3 billion, which will go into infrastructural development.
The history of Korea's development trajectory has fundamental lessons for Africa's quest to occupy its space in the global economy. Africa appreciates the contribution of the Republic of Korea and the continued commitment of support to Africa's future.
The South Korean government has also agreed to support Sagana Industrial Park that will employ over 10,000 people.
My presence here is to confirm to you Kenya's readiness to engage, to work together, and I'm here to underwrite the opportunities that are available in Kenya and the opportunities that are available in our continent.
Kenyan and South Korean business organization also agreed to prioritize investments that will fast-track the realization of the United Nations UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development.
Manufacturing sector with the agro-based industries and integrate the comparative advantage into a transformative economic model, and which will lift national economies and raise the welfare of many from the bottom up.
President Ruto's trip is expected to end tomorrow before he jets back to the country. Lucky Uriano reporting for TV47.
Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu says it is all systems go as candidates prepare to sit for their national examinations from Monday. The CSO toured Wajir County, flanked by NEC CEO Dr. David Njegere and KICD CEO Professor Charles Ongondo, urged the students who are set to sit for their Form 4 examinations to work hard in their studies. In a separate meeting with education stakeholders in the county, Machogu noted that the ministry, through the TSC, has ensured that center managers, supervisors and invigilators involved in the management of the 2022 national examinations have been identified, vetted and deployed by the Commission to all the centers countrywide in readiness for exam administration. The CS also paid a courtesy call to Wajir County Commissioner Jacob Narengo and administration officers on matters delivery of the upcoming national examinations.
Funds from the exchequer for the laboratory, we want you to start preparing the architectural drawings and also the PQ, which you will be able to submit to my office, so that immediately we get the funds, Mheshimiwa, the laboratory, because we will partner with Mheshimiwa. Yes. Mheshimiwa, when he also gets his CDL funds, yes, he will be able to do something. But as a ministry, I promise you, we are going to build a laboratory.
All right, at 27 minutes after 9 o'clock, we want to take a very fast break right here on TV47 News Tonight. You want to stick around for that as we come and give you more stories ahead.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Shhh. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Win big with TV47 and win Lotto. All you need to do is watch TV47 and send 50 shillings to the payable number 328328. Account name TV47 to enter the draw. The more you play, the higher your chances of winning if you send 50 shillings to the payable number 328328. Account name TV47. Win Lotto. Everyone's a winner. Remember, send 50 shillings to the payable number 328328. Account name TV47 and win with TV47 and win Lotto. This has been authorized by the Betting Control and Licensing Board of Kenya. BCLB number *00885. Play responsibly, not for people under the age of 18. You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with TV47 News tonight. Now, a climate change lobby group dubbed We Don't Have Time, in collaboration with various climate change stakeholders present at the COP27 talks, immensely pushed for action against the climate change crisis. And as Beatrice Watare now tells us, the Nairobi hub at the Mount Kenya University gave a chance to the youth to engage with leaders at the conference by asking questions and offering their views.
The 27th session of Conference of Parties COP27 talks that were being held in Egypt had their main agenda focused on building on previous successes and paving way for the future ambition to effectively tackle the global challenge of climate change.
And the main agenda is to push at least the parties from all over the world, that's like 187 countries, to take this agenda ahead, at least for their citizens and for our planet.
Various stakeholders, including Dr. Robert Josephine, who is a trained vet and an infectious disease expert, gave an insight on how climate change and global warming has affected the productivity of livestock.
We also run the risk of losing animals, which are very critical animals, food source protein for most families, but they are also big economic backbones for families.
This coupled up with the lack of food and nutrition to sustain households.
The impact of climate change on how we produce our animals and how we are able to benefit from them is very critical for us to think about in terms of how then we are able to provide for our families in terms of food as well as in terms of financial well-being.
Patrick Carrier, representative of a movement dubbed We Don't Have Time, which is the world's largest social media for climate change, while elaborating on their vision, stated that time is running out when it comes to salvaging what is left of the planet.
That's why we are saying we are short of time, and it's our high time to work on that time so that we can salvage what our mother nature is remaining for us. The
main message being that it is indeed possible for each and every individual to participate in giving a lasting solution to the climate crisis.
Which we are saying we can do it. We believe our policymakers, they can do it. We believe our parents, they can do it. We believe our youth who have been here and whoever listening this voice, they can do it.
Reporting for TV47, my name is Beatrice Watare.
Moving on, and in a bid to curb the high crime rate and drug abuse in Mombasa County, police officers have collaborated with the City Council or the City Askaris to shift the garbage space in Maboksini area where crooks are said to hide. The exercise was, however, met with a standoff between the officers and the said criminals who opposed the move. 3 of the criminals were arrested during the exercise. In addition, the area OCPD Maxwell Olo has assured Mombasa residents that security will be tightened up, especially during the festive season, to ensure stability in the area.
Forensics lab at the DCI headquarters. What is worrying, therefore, is that we have rumors that they are of a different opinion, which is actually digressing out of the particulars and with specificity. as per the Honorable Court's orders. Therefore, we have reminded the Internal Affairs that come the 1st of December 2022, when we shall be appearing before the court that issued the said orders, we shall be vehemently opposed to any application for extension. These are for the simple reason that for you to curtail or limit a person's human right, that's the right to liberty, that limitation has to be justifiable. Therefore, they have had over 1 month to date. They are yet to escort our clients to the laboratory as ordered by court. We want to indeed again remind the Internal Affairs Unit that the public is extremely eager to get the result and outcome of what has happened from the forensic examination. Therefore, they should not hold the entire nation at ransom for the simple reason that these were officers who were highly trained in the Special Service Unit and who didn't have any jurisdiction in terms of how they work. So these are officers who are supposed to serve the entire nation. Therefore, we expect the Internal Affairs Unit and with the advice of the ODPP to quickly and promptly proceed to comply with the court orders.
Now, women and youth groups in Taita Taveta County have started a mass tree planting exercise in all Taita mountains and water catchment areas during this rainy season, as they encourage Kenyans to embrace the same in order to curb drought that has struck various parts of the country. According to them, they are planting indigenous trees which do well in that climate as they gear up to increasing the forest cover. Taita Taveta County has faced illegal logging and charcoal burning, which has affected the conservation efforts. At the end of the exercise, they anticipate planting over 500,000 trees.
Imeletwa na mambo ya moto. Kila wakati karibu kila misitu inachomeka. Nadhani nashukuru this time yale ndio haijachomeka, lakini hizo misitu mingine kama Mwambirwa ilichomeka, kuna Chawia ilichomeka, na Kinyeshamvua pia ilichomeka, Mbololo ambayo pia kwa muda mrefu haijachomeka, this time ilichomeka.
Ni katika kila chanzo cha mlima Taita Taveta. Tumeanza Iyale, tutaenda Vuria, tutaenda Susu, tutaenda Vesu, tutaenda Ngangao, tutaenda Mwambirwa, tutaenda Mbololo, tutaenda Kasigau. Kila mahali kwenye chanzo ya mito inaanza Taita Taveta.
Objective is actually to bring in all the young people to come in and build up the environment, because given that the population of the youth in the world, in Africa we have the largest number of youth than any other continent in the world. So bring out in the youth in this initiative gives them the hope for the future.
Change. Tunaomba serikali ya county government ipate kusaidia in that area in allocating money and budget, especially kusaidia our community forest association members. And then kitu ingine, the MCAs should come up with the legislation kwa county assembly, sheria ambazo zinalenga kuhifadhi mazingira.
To Meru now, where the county government through the health department has guaranteed its health workers that the 3-month salary arrears that they have been demanding since last year will be paid, and they will also be promoted in order to improve the county's health department. The health sector workers are threatening to strike due to the unfulfillment of the promises by the county government. Now, this is despite holding talks with which were headed by the Meru Chief Advisor, George Mungania.
Tumekuwa tukipatana kwa sababu ya ile mshahara ya 2021 January, February na March yenye serikali yenye iliyopita ya Kiraitu Murungi haikuweza kuwalipa na kuwanyima ile mshahara. Governor wetu Honorable Kawela Mwangaza alipromise during the campaigns that hiyo mshahara itaweza kulipwa, na sasa tumeanza mikakati kabambe ya kwamba in the next 1 week hiyo mishahara tutaweza kuketi na tujue venye hii pesa ya wafanyikazi itaweza kuingia kwenye account zao. Na mambo ingine yenye tumeongea ni mambo ile ya kupandishwa ngazi ama promotions na delays in salaries, ambayo kwa sasa mishahara imeanza kuwa inaingia kwa wakati ufaao bila kuchelewa.
Been having
most of the doctors have been highly discouraged because they go to school, come back, and their certificates have not been able to be recognized. There have been no addition in salaries from since when they were hired until now. But we've started our negotiations, and we've seen that our leaders are determined to listen to us, so that we can be able to meet in a series, to have a series of meetings that we can be able to organize on how the different sectors and different cadres will be promoted.
Let's go to Kilifi, where Public Service and Gender Cabinet Secretary Aisha Jumwa has declared war against the gender-based violence perpetrators and those behind the killing of the elderly in Kilifi County. Speaking during a Thanksgiving service at the Ganda grounds, the CS said it saddens that the county continues to suffer from cases of teenage pregnancies and forced marriages. Church leaders, chiefs, police and county commissioner have been called on to unite so as to rid the county of the shameful acts.
Issue ya gender-based violence in Kilifi County is pathetic. Tumesumbuka hapa na mimba za mapema, forced marriages in Kilifi County. I am a victim. Na najua how painful hii maneno inaweza kuathiri watu wengine. Kwa hiyo mimi tutapanga mipango na nitakuja kaa na governor na security team yetu hapa, tuhakikishe ya kwamba tumeshikana kuhakikisha dhuluma za kijinsia ndani ya Kilifi na Kenya tunazizika katika kaburi la Sahara. Sasa wale vijana wanaojifanya wanaua wazee ama wanapiga wazee kwa sababu ya kusema ni wachawi, ilhali kuna vitu wanataka, nataka niwaambie your days are numbered.
Moving on, the Kenya Wildlife Service and the International Tree Foundation have scaled up a project to conserve wetlands around the Saiwa Swamp National Park, which are feeding and breeding grounds for the endangered Sitatunga antelope, grey-crested cranes, the Brazos monkey, and over 300 species of birds, as Chichi Josephine now tells us.
The project that has engaged the community-based Kipsaina Crane and Wetland Conservation Group in Trans Nzoia County is providing farmers around the wetlands with alternative environment-friendly activities such as free tree planting. Records from KWS indicate that only 250 of the Sitatunga antelope are remaining in the country. Uasin Gishu County has 40 at the KCSE scheme. Saiwa National Park in Trans Nzoia has 60, while Nandi County's Kingwal Swamp has 150.
What we've been able to do mostly is to restore the degraded areas in terms of replanting tree seedlings, most of which the species that were there before. And we are working with the communities together with this Kipsaina Wetland Conservation Group to save the Sitatungas outside the protected areas amongst other wildlife species.
KWS has further stated that in the 1970s, the population of cranes in Kenya stood at 30,000, but a 2019 census showed that number had dropped to 8,000.
So Saiwa National Park hosts this wildlife, and they are a major attraction to the tourists in the western circuit, where we have Sitatungas and we have crested crown cranes.
According to ITF Programs Officer Wycliffe Matika, the wetlands around Saiwa Swamp National Park are threatened due to deforestation and climate change as the depth of wetlands decreases due to silt brought by rainwater.
We have a rationale of focusing on threatened forest and their associated biodiversity. Particularly in Kenya, we have a total of 1,100 species, indigenous species, but out of it, we have 142 that are threatened with extinction. This is of particular concern not only at the local level, but also at the global level.
Loss of wetlands in other parts of Kenya is also occurring at an alarming rate, fueled in part by increasing demand for land, extreme pollution, flooding of reservoirs, growing population, urbanization, industrialization, and human greed. Warden in charge of Saiwa Swamp National Park, Philip Rono, indicates that locals around the wetlands harvest bulrush grass, popularly known as makololwe, preferred by the Sitatunga antelopes, and cranes bars to use as cattle feed, thatching material, and during brick making. Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
Now, the day-to-day activities in Thika town have today been disrupted in some parts of that town after huge and old trees fell and destroyed 2 vehicles and a few businesses. A newspaper vendor, Zach Waithaka, whose business was gravely damaged due to the heavy rains, is urging the Kiambu County government to cut down or trim all trees within the town in a bid to curb such occurrences. Waithaka regretted that while some trees within the town were too old, the county had failed to address their numerous calls to have them trimmed down. While narrating how he escaped death by a whisker, David Masharia called on the county's officials to expedite proper gardening of Thika town to not only avert future accident but also give the Thika town a better shape.
Shukuru Mungu, tuko sawa, hakuna mtu ameumia. Kuna miti ingine unaweza angalia tu hivi uone ni kama tu just an accident waiting to happen. Hiyo ndio sana sana ningesema labda watu wa county waangalie, kama ni kukata ikatwe, kama ni kutrim zitrimiwe.
Ingine hapo police station imeanguka saa hii. Hii hapa mimi nimepigwa na gari nikaaguka chini. Iko mzee mwingine anafanya kazi hapa ya kuuza gazeti, amekogwa na chuma akitoroka na gari yake imelalio na mti. Tunaomba county ya Kiambu, gavana wetu wa Mataki, hata saa hii unafaa uwe umekuja Thika, juu wakati tulikuwa tunakuchagua ulikuwa nakuja kutuitisha kula. Saa hii ungekuwa hapa juu uko na gari ya serikali, ukuje uone ile shida tuko naye.
To the world of business now, where the East African Breweries Limited has today launched its 2021-2022 Sustainability Report. The report provides an overview of the resilience and growth of the company's comprehensive collaborative approach to sustainability. It details the progress made in the last year on the environmental, social, and governance issues that matter most to the business and its stakeholders. The report also highlighted the processes and mechanisms EABL has put in place to support communities and do business the right way, detailing the direct impact of their sustainability work is having on various stakeholders.
Into the organization, currently our farmer base is about 163, which is still very, very low. So we are working with site savers and other people who know how to do these things more than us, partnering so that we can bring more of those people in the ecosystem, whether it is farmers inside the organization or in the bartender space or in the customer space.
I'll be working, I'll be seeking to work with you. First of all, I've noticed that EABL is one of our biggest taxpayers. And so, can we clap for you? You have heard our president has already raised a target. Our revenue has to double from 2 trillion to 4 trillion. Where are we going to be getting more? Are we going to be taxing you more?
Safaricom has now set Bonga points to expire due to a lack of utilization by subscribers. According to the listed telco, all unredeemed Bonga points will now be expiring after 3 years, a move aimed at unlocking the underlying revenue amounting to about 4.5 billion shillings as of March this year. Elsewhere, and a total of 100 students from various accredited universities across the country will now benefit from a 2-week period-based program from various Diamond Trust Bank branches and departments in Nairobi and regionally within the counties. Through this, the students will get to shadow various roles at the banks as well as receive a stipend for basic needs. At the end of the program, they will go through a mentorship session on CV writing and presentation skills to adequately prepare them for the job market.
At partnering with various tertiary institutions, and we've enrolled 100 students who are learning in these tertiary institutions, and we look forward to them participating in, if you like, our daily life at work and getting exposed to banking, and then make an informed choice as they make their own career choices about banking. We have seen that in doing this, yes, we drive the...
And you're quite excited about the whole program. This is the second year, the second intake that you're having such a program. We kicked off last year with the first cohort where we had 70 students coming from different universities. And why we are doing what we're doing is because we are saying we can be part of the solution. We can actually break the gap between...
and be able to learn and also put in practice what I've theoretically learned throughout my 3 years at DStv University. So yeah. Okay, so first and foremost, as a growing brand, DStv as a growing brand, I literally see them all over nowadays. There's a lot of red splashed around. So I am really looking forward to just getting to understand how they work, be able to also see how the skill sets that they're going to enable me get throughout this 2-week period.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Tuko Machakos County bwana.
Watch Machakos Talent on TV47.
Sisi ndio tunabeba swag hadi ndani ya pitch. Sisi ndio the fastest, the biggest, the strongest. They wonder why. Time waliland kucheza ball na nati, sisi tulikuwa mguu chuma. Ball ni sisi na sisi ni ball. It has always been a part of us. We are passionate, so loud, they had to tell us to keep it down. Na sasa, it's that time again. The time for us to step up. Tuwakumbushe why Waafrika wana shine kwa ligi za majuu. So if you love football, love Africa. Cheer Africa. Africa ni sisi.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
The stories of those who have gone beyond the limit.
Nilitaka kuwa nurse. Nilipoenda shule ya college, nikaambiwa siwezi beba wagonjwa, siwezi kimbia.
We found that Shiro is developed some abnormal growth just at birth, and this was caused by an umbilical cord that had been tied around her neck.
Because as you said, most of the time getting a child with disability is multifactorial. It's not necessarily just age, or it's not the delivery process. It's from the alcohol that you drink, from the smoking, yes, and all those other behavioral factors that are there.
And I'm happy that I've been able to take care of her for all those years.
Every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. of soft living. You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
All right, welcome back and thank you so much for staying with TV47 News Tonight. And this is the time where I usher in my colleague